Are your relationships changing and you're not sure why and it's making you nervous? We're going to talk about it today because I want to talk about signs that your relationships show you when you are healing from past hardships and adversities. This is important because one of the major ways that hardships show up is through our relationships, and the impact of our hardships, the impact of adversity, it shows up through our relationships and how we are in our relationships, the types of relationships that we accept. So before we get started, hit the like button, the share button, subscribe to this channel, and let's just get into it. So as I was mentioning, when we're talking about adversities and hardships, our relationships are wildly impacted. We see it in the course of the experiences that we have, and we see these relationships continue to come about throughout the course of our life when we haven't really dealt with those hardships and adversities, when we haven't started growing after them and healing from them. And so there are some signs that can make a person feel nervous and uncertain when you are at this point now of growing and seeing shifts in relationships. So what's the first way that relationships show up in this way? So the first way that you may see your relationships change when you're growing, when you're healing, is that you may see your supporters, the people around you who really want to see you do good. The people that when you were in your pain and in your heartache, you may have taken it for granted. It may have been difficult for you to even see them. And sometimes you may have known they were there, but you didn't take to heart how much they were really rooting for you. So when you start to do this work of growing and rising above the adversities that you've experienced in the past, you may start seeing the people who've always been there, those people you want to keep around, still there, consistent with you, giving you words of encouragement, smiling when they see that you've made an accomplishment, trying to help you in different ways, putting out a good word for you, really speaking highly of you when you're not around. These people are people you may begin to see more evidently when you begin this process of healing. And they are the people to continue to have around to make sure that those patterns that we've had in the past do not sabotage these relationships. And the reason I say that is a lot of times when we are growing, we're healing, we are creating new ways of being, we're having new experiences, but what can trip us up and what can hold us back are the patterns that we have that we still have to deal with. We have to create new patterns. And so sometimes those old patterns can try and creep back in. It's those old beliefs, those things that you may have been programmed to believe for so long. Oftentimes some of those patterns can creep back in and it can cause you to push away the people who are truly there for you. So being able to see who has always been consistent, who's always been there giving you words of encouragement, and who has been there sometimes when you weren't there for yourself. If you have people who you recognize like that in your life, these are the people you may see more evidently. And what I would encourage you to do with these people is be very intentional about being open, having an open heart to them so that they understand and they see also that you receive them. Keep this increase and strengthen this connection by you acknowledging how they've been there, and then they continue to be there for you as well. So that's the first way that you can see relationships begin to shift or see changes in relationships. The second way is there may be people who are upset. There can be some relationships where you see people getting more irritated with you, becoming more short with you, being less supportive of you. So it's the other side of the pole. Those people who maybe aren't the most authentic people in your life, the people who have somehow benefited from you being not at your best, for you being in places where you doubted yourself, where you relied on them, or you fed them some kind of way through your brokenness. When you begin to do your own healing, these people will show up and become irritated. They may, have a problem with you doing something, some type of self-improvement that's just solely for you. Maybe you change the way that you eat and they, for some reason, are irritated. Maybe you're deciding, I'm going to do some fasting to make myself feel better, just to do something well for me. And they're questioning you about it and they don't understand. And they are, in some ways, you're seeing a level of irritability, a lack of patience, a lack of tolerance with you. You can also see them challenging you more, or not being as agreeable anymore. Things that you want to do, they may not support you as much anymore. And this can be difficult because, our relationships that we've had and some of our relationships that we've acquired in our moments of being broken or being still functioning from hurt, these could be codependent relationships that we created and that we attached to. We attracted people who probably speak and feel like people who are broken. When we are in a certain state, we end up bringing people around us who agree with that in a lot of situations. And they may somehow benefit from you feeling less about yourself. So when you're at this point now of growing, and part of that would be gaining more confidence, being more self-assured, getting out and taking more chances, this can really make these people feel threatened. And because of this, the way that will show up is in lack of support, increased irritability, low tolerance for your new way of being. And you just may see some behaviors that really hurt. And what I would encourage in these situations is to not stop growing. To not stop growing. Because the truth of the matter is, when we continue to grow, we feel better about ourselves. We have a new experience with life. And it is going to challenge us to deal with the relationships that start getting disrupted, that become uneasy. We will have to address those relationships and make decisions about those relationships. And it's not always easy, but the more that you begin to make these important decisions about your relationships will also speak to the level of growth that you're continuing to do. When we move some people out the way, we leave room for more people to come in on our life and be a part of our life. So that's the second type of way that you will see relationships shift when you are healing from past hurt and adversities. Number 3 will be that you will invite new relationships. New relationships will begin to come into your life, especially if you're someone who's been closed off from relationships because of the hardships that you've experienced. When you've been closed off from experiences and when you've dealt with a lot of adversities in your earlier years, one of the things that can be impacted is trust. And trusting other people enough can be hard. But when we don't trust people, we do cause ourselves to be closed off from relationships. Some potentially very good relationships we can be closed off from just because you don't know, that you may question the person's intentions. You may feel that it's safer to just not start a relationship because of the fear of getting hurt in those relationships. And so in many situations, you've not had as many relationships as you could because you could have been closed off. So when you're beginning this process of healing, and you're in this process of healing and you're growing from the new ways of being that you are taking on, you will start to see new relationships come into your life. And part of the reason is because you become more open to relationships. Your guards may not be up as much. You may be in this space of wanting to live and have more experiences, where when you're hurting, it's easy to close yourself off, to isolate yourself. When you're healing, think of it as being more open, having your arms spread wide and wanting to have new experiences. When I think about a person who's really closed off and how it really hurts us and the importance of having relationships, I think about people who are incarcerated and people who may be one of the punishments that many people get is being isolated. I forget the term, but they may be isolated in a cell just by themselves for however long. And when this happens, it can really cause a level of almost like psychosis that a person can experience. I think I'm thinking about the movie Malcolm X, and when Malcolm X was incarcerated and they had him isolated by himself for an extended amount of time, he began talking to himself, communicating with as if other people were there. And I think that really speaks to how important communicating is and having relationships. When we don't have them and when we're completely isolated, it can continue to cause deterioration in our mental well-being. So to have relationships, especially healthy relationships, it's a balance of having that time with ourselves and being able to be confident enough to be with yourself, to be in love with yourself enough to have time to yourself, but also understand the importance of relationships outside of yourself. The more that we have community and relationship, that means more support that we also have around us in times of need. And the way that we can also offer support to other people is also a gift to us as well. As we're helping other people, it ends up helping us in this way. It's this beautiful gift of life. And we can only have those when we are actually open to relationships, to have these relationships, to have this exchange of love that can go back and forth with another person. So when we are growing, we begin to see these relationships open up to us more. And it contributes to the beauty of our lives. What I would encourage is, again, when we talk about these patterns that we can have, it can be easy when we're upset about something or when we have some challenges in relationships, because that is a part of even healthy relationships. It can be easy to go to old patterns and close yourself off. But remember, in order for you to have even achieved these relationships, it took you doing something different than closing yourself off. So what it may take at this point is learning how to deal with disagreement, learning how to deal with some conflict. Conflict isn't always a bad thing, because they can help us learn how to communicate better. It can help us learn how to communicate our needs more, and it can help us learn how to listen to other people and what's important to them. So when we allow ourselves to have those experiences, it can continue to make our relationships even stronger. So the thing that it would be important to consider doing, aside from closing yourself off, will be learning how to have social interactive skills, how to strengthen those. How to look into doing better with those types of situations, how to communicate. And then number 4, the fourth way that you will see relationships shift when you are growing past your past adversities and hardships will be that some relationships are going to just fall off. Some relationships, it's going to take very little effort even on your part. They're going to just seemingly just ease out of your life. And what is really profound about this for me is it really speaks to what we carry energetically, our vibration. One of the most fascinating things I learned when I was in nursing school in one of my physiology courses is that when you go to the cellular level of us as people, we are having physiological changes in our body, and the way our body functions at a cellular level is energetically. It's with electrons. It's electric. It's energy. It's not just happening, So I say that to say we are energy, and we are functioning from energy. And when these people in your life who have been there start to fall off, particularly when you are rising to something better, it is because you are no longer even on the same frequency. So some people, it is going to take very little effort on your end to even have to make a change. It's just you may have been here with this person and you all might have just met right there. You all understood each other. You all thought the same. Somehow the energy you were on, you were right there. You could see each other. You're attracted. But when you begin to do this process of overcoming past hurt and adversities and things that may have caused your vibration to be lower, what is inevitably going to happen is that your energy is going to start rising. Your frequency is going to start going up. As you heal, it's going to start going up. And someone who isn't healing, they will still be where they were. So can you see? You can't even see each other anymore. You're just not even there with each other anymore. You're up here, and you have to recognize that you have to have yourself open to who else is up there to allow them to come into your life. But the people who energetically haven't grown, you're going to start missing each other in that way. And that can show up in a number of ways. It can be that somehow they just ease out of your life. They fall out. Maybe they decide to stop talking to you. Maybe, you just don't run into them anymore, or they're in different places. But it is that change that's going to happen. And it can be difficult because, you could put your energy into focusing on like, well, why aren't they here anymore? And these could be people who particularly, weren't necessarily the best for you, right? You may have had conflict with these people that wasn't healthy. And now you're seeing that they're not there. And I would encourage not to spend too much time wondering where they are, because as you're start putting your focus on these people who maybe didn't mean you well anyway, and you're up here and you start putting focus on them, then you're going to start attracting what you focus on. So you have to just sometimes accept that some relationships were for a season. They were there to show you something. They were there to teach you something. Sometimes, and all the time actually, our relationships are teaching us where we are internally. If I'm in a place of insecurity, I'm going to attract people who either bring out my insecurities or poke at my insecurities where they make me feel more insecure, or I'm going to bring people around me who also feel insecure. And when we think about how these people go out of your life when you're rising, it's the same thing if you've ever been at a place where you were doing well and whatever the dynamics are that caused you to start to spiral downward, like to decline in your wellness or your life. You also notice that the people who were there with you up here, when you start going down, you don't see them anymore either. You end up attracting a different group of people. You end up attracting a different group of people, regardless of which direction we're talking about. If we were doing really well and we got involved in dynamics that started to cause our life to go downhill, we're no longer up there with the people who were there when we were doing really well. They end up being transient and going somewhere else, and they're not in our lives anymore. But it's the same thing when we think about if we are at a place that we're at a lower point in our life and we start to heal and start rising, the people who were down there, we're not going to connect with them anymore, and we're going to start attracting people at those levels that we are as we grow. So that's science, that's law. It's not something that's wishy-washy. What I would encourage you to do is test it out in your life. Put your focus on the desires you have for your life, the wellness that you have, and to continue on that road. These shifts in our relationships, some will be there that really encourage us to say, oh, yes, I'm on the right path. And some we might think cause us to question, because we have to lose some people that even if they weren't the best for us, we have gained some type of comfort in them being there. It's become a normal. When that normal shifts, it can be uncomfortable, because even things that are unhealthy, when they've been our normal, it can be comfortable because we know it. Excuse me. But as we begin to grow and become in spaces that are not familiar, even if they're better for us, it can be a little intimidating initially. When we grow and we come into new territories, new environments, it can be so easy to just regress back to old patterns of what is familiar. But I encourage you to allow yourself to grow and have the new experiences, because eventually those new experiences that are healthy will become your normal. It just takes the consistency of letting yourself and allowing yourself to be in that space so that you can see a completely different life begin to transform right before your eyes. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. Please leave any comments in the comment section. I'm sorry, I got a little choked up in my throat at the end of this, but I would encourage you to leave a comment what you think about this, and to, again, like this video, subscribe to this channel, subscribe to this channel, subscribe to this channel if you didn't hear me already, and also share this with someone who you feel could benefit, who could be encouraged to be able to continue that growth and that healing in their own life. And again, I will be back next week because I am putting a new video here each week. And yeah, I will be back next week with another topic to support all of us on this journey of growth and new life and well-being, mental well-being. So my name is Crystal Turner. I am a psychiatric nurse practitioner who's going holistic because I know to be whole is to be healed. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.